time already.
Yeah.
Oops, that's not how it was supposed to go.
Streaming!
Where is my... Okay, here.
Yes.
And where's the comments? Here. Okay, oops, we are a bit early because I don't know what I'm doing. Yes. Oh, look, we have our first victim in the chat already.
Our first victim.
Yes. And if you can't hear us, then let us know, because this whole stream setup is a bit...
On Wish.
No. Mean, you're not allowed to be here anymore.
Oh. Aw.
Yes, anyway. We are here to talk about the Bad Batch, and I am the owner of this channel. My name is Avela, and this is...
I'm Strike. I do Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I'm noticing that the comments are not showing up.
Yeah, the comments are not showing up.
Okay, maybe I should have put the other thing. Oh, I can't change that anymore. Well, anyway, we can look at the comments in another window, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yes. Oh, wait, now they showed
now
up.
everything showed up.
Yeah, this is a bit of an adventure.
Yes. Hello.
What's up?
Glad you could make it.
Hey!
Hello. Yes, you should.
Yeah, it's
Okay, good. That would be a big embarrassment
awesome.
if no one can hear us.
Your focus determines your reality.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, now after we are actually live, we should maybe talk about the thing and yes. So first of all, just overall, what did we think about this season of the Bad Batch? And I think you should start.
I should start.
Yes.
Just in general, what I thought of the series.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so the second season of Bad Batch, yeah, I mean, we were all kind of, I think we didn't exactly know where or what we were going to get into, since, like, the end of season 1 was, like, fairly open, like, you know, Bad Batch and Crosshair still went separated ways, but everyone was alright, you know. I mean, Kamino was obviously obliterated.
Kamino was not alright.
Nah, Kamino was not alright. Kamino really needed a medic.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, we kind of jumped into the season, I guess, okay. We had a little adventure on Serrano. It was, yeah, I guess it was, like, okay, sort of to remind us where our characters were, the first 2 episodes that was. Like, that was, like, enjoyable. It was, like, a, you know, a light start to the series, or that second season. Episode 3 was, I mean, a very good one. I would consider episode 3 probably one of the best episodes of season 1 and 2. Obviously seeing Cody again was like a strong thing, and Crosshair is like usually a win, or pretty much always a win when he's on screen, so that was really enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, a bit disappointing, to say the least. There were just a lot of episodes that didn't drive any sort of plot forward, but at the same time also didn't convey a lot of character development, which is kind of the thing that I really don't understand. Because you would think with like these new characters, and I mean the Bad Batch I still consider new characters, you would think they want to try and make them like cool,
Yes.
but they aren't. Like, and this is nothing against anyone who likes the Bad Batch, like, seriously. But, like, genuinely, if you look at it from an objective point of view, like, you know, characters, like, become cool because they're really good at something. And, yeah, as soon as, you know, the Bad Batch really started to do their own thing, you know, after Order 66, like, really, they didn't accomplish anything since. Like, they just failed and failed again. And meanwhile, then you get like 2 episodes of Crosshair where he absolutely like literally like kills everyone kind of, and is like really good at his job. And obviously like the troopers that accompany him, like Cody, are really good at their job too. And then on the other hand, you have like Rex, who's also really good in his job. You know, on the other hand, on the good side, so to speak. And it's just a bit discouraging then when like those episodes where you get these competent characters are in the clear minority. And I think that's like overall how I felt. There are definitely some gems, and I think we're going to go over that. But overall, I will say that the second season was not what I wanted, which is a subjective thing, obviously. But I was genuinely not crazy about this season, and I must say now, having watched all of it, I'm genuinely more disappointed than I enjoyed episodes.
Yes, we have a very important guest here, and he has not watched any of the animated stuff, and I don't recommend watching The Bad Batch, honestly, or at least not starting with it. That would be not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because like I guess for me overall, like I didn't really like the first season either. I didn't mind it, but I didn't really like it. So it's like, and I guess this one lived up to the first one, but I feel like here there were even less episodes that I liked, I guess. And I guess my biggest problem is that I just don't really care about the Bad Batch. I feel like if I really liked those characters, I wouldn't have like much bad to say. I mean something still, but like I just don't care about them, unfortunately, and this season did not make me care about them. Yeah, and also one thing which we didn't get was the Fives moment that we have been waiting for since Season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's a bit too overdue at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a blatantly ignoring a huge character trait for Echo, or just character history, you could say. Because, like, I mean, that's something I feel like a lot of us that were, like, fans of specifically Fives and Echo, like, for instance, like, Season 7, when they didn't mention Fives, like, at all, like, after Echo was retrieved, like, it was bothering me so much, because it just seemed so out of Echo's character.
Yes.
And, like, the fact that they still haven't given us this, like, important moment on screen.
Yeah,
like,
and it would make sense, too, because, like, what Fives uncovered, and
right.
Rex also knows about it, so, like, why are we not, like, getting anything?
Especially in terms of, like, a clone rebellion, what would be better to motivate those last loyal soldiers than to show, like, footage that might still be in AZ of one of their brothers uncovering this and then getting blamed for some blatant stuff he didn't do and then getting executed. Like...
Yeah. And while saying like that, I mean, it makes sense because Empire should be winning, which yes, but then also all of these side missions they seem to also fail at. It's like,
yeah, like
even when they're not against the Empire, they're still not succeeding in their missions, which is kind of sad.
I think the problem is why me personally I don't really enjoy the season was, like, it's definitely fair that they're not a special ops team anymore. I mean, they go out of their way to say that, like, pretty regularly. But the problem is that, like, as you said, like, they're not facing off against the Empire, you know? Like, they're getting into situations where you would think they are allowed to win because it's just, you know, pirates. It's just, you know, some corporation. They have no affiliation with the Empire, yet they fail nonetheless. And then we get, like, close to no Empire at all. So... like, I get what you're saying, but they're not even doing it in that way, so...
Yeah, and I agree, I also wish we got more Crosshair, because his episodes were actually good, and that takes us to the next section, which is like, the good. So, for example, Tillo Beast, definitely extra points there, that was like very, very
a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Yes. And yeah, okay, I guess didn't see this one. Yeah, I mean, but we didn't see it, which is like...
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
point why we're complaining, because you can't... It's too big of a character moment.
But anyway, the good stuff.
Right.
So, my favorite episodes, and also the ones I would rewatch, everything else I'm not going to rewatch, are, well, the ones without the Bad Batch. Let's be honest. So, the third one with Cody and Crosshair, that was very good, very Clone Wars vibes from that one. Was just overall very good. And then 7 and 8, so the Clone Conspiracy with Chuchi, also Clone Wars vibes there. And then number 12 with Crosshair and Mayday, so yeah, the ones without the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And the most like Clone Wars feeling ones, and that sort of also had, I guess, sort of like a beginning and end, and everything got resolved, because a lot of stuff I feel like we never got a resolution from in the Bad Batch. Like there's a lot of stuff that just starts but then it never ends, sort of. Does that make sense?
No, I think that makes sense, and I mean, honestly, I agree with pretty much all of it. Like, for me, it would also have to be absolutely, like, favorite episodes, like the third episode, Cody and Crosshair. I think that was probably in terms of, like, just, like, battle feeling, that was probably the most Clone Wars feeling one that we will, I mean, being real, it's gonna be it is the last time we will probably ever see canonically like clones like working like this against droids. So that was obviously nice to see, and also just seeing Cody also starting to question the orders, and I really liked how they did that, because Crosshair at this point is still very loyal to the Empire, and I liked how Cody was like trying to like, you know, sort of get a feel on like where Crosshair is standing, with like being like, you know, some soldiers start to question the order, and sort of like, yeah, my friend is starting to question the order, sort of that kind of deal, and then Crosshair being like, well, then there are traitors, and then Cody's like, alright, I know which address I am at, so I like that, and obviously, 7 and 8, like, the Clone Conspiracy, Truth and Consequences, really smooth transition from 2 episodes, really also kind of saved our sort of expectations for the series. I really thought it would be going in a better direction from that point on, and to an extent it did. I'll say that. But yeah, other than that, really only the Mayday episode. Mayday as a character, I think, is awesome. I really liked that him and his 2 troopers really felt like those like Revenge of the Sith troopers, you know, they had their armor like modified for the environment. It looked really weathered, and the like Mayday as a character, as a clone, just really felt grounded. Like had a lot of those good values we know from Rex and like, you know, Cody Wolf. And like obviously then Crosshair actually getting a connection with Mayday and sort of gaining that brother feeling to one of the normal regs. I mean, that's huge in terms of Crosshair's character. So, like, these episodes, that's what I mean, like, they were building Crosshair's character up so much. And I think that's also why a lot of people really enjoy his episodes, on the contrary of, like, the other batch. And I will say, that doesn't count as an entire episode. Or actually it does. The Zillo Beast episode was also really good. With the main takeaway that Scorch was reintroduced.
Yeah.
And as a big Republic Commando fan, that name drop, official name drop in the credits, was big, so.
Yes. And yes, it is. We borrowed it from her.
Yeah.
Just for this stream, just for you guys.
Exactly, yeah. She's actually a friend. She's like hanging out with other Mandalorians. Like the armorer told her that she can take off her helmet, so she was like, alright, I can lend it to them for a little bit for the stream, so we appreciate it, Bo.
Yes. And sort of what you said, I feel like the strong suit of this whole show is the time period. Like, this is something we haven't seen before, and there's a lot of very interesting things happening in the galaxy. But they're sort of not, I guess, using that to the full potential, because we have these episodes that do that very well, but then we have others that, like for example I don't know what it was called, but when they went to the mine and then the ship got stolen and then they got it back, like that could have been also good, but like the whole thing that's happening there has nothing to do with the time period. Like that story could be at any point in Star Wars, so it doesn't really, they're not using the thing that makes the show special, I guess. Yeah, and then the other thing that was good was that Tech died.
Like,
or
at the very end.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's also something that made me kind of left a weird note. Hey, what's up? Kind of left a weird note at the very end with how they structured it, because like that whole sequence of Tech sacrificing himself, and then also that sequence where we have that POV shot of Omega, was actually well done.
Yeah,
but it was
really
just
well
too late, because now you're on this cliffhanger. If you would have had this happen like at the middle of the season or even further in the beginning, it would have set the whole intensity and vibe for the rest of the season, because then you would have been scared for the other members, because that's one thing also. Even though the batch kept failing at missions, I never felt like they were in serious danger. I was never like thinking, okay, one of them is going to die. Never. They all seemed safe, which, yeah, the structure was just a bit all over the place, or really there wasn't an actual structure.
I mean, we were saying like, it was only a couple episodes left, and we were like, okay, but like, what's the point of this season? Like, we still don't know where this is going, or like nothing has really happened, so yeah. But I mean, with that said, there were definitely some really, really good moments where we were all very excited about like Palpatine, and then I think Cody was very well done. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, like, we don't really know what...
I do think so too, though. I mean, obviously, the way it ended now, it's clear we're going to get a season 3.
Yeah.
I heavily think that they are just saving, which I don't really like it that much, but I think they're just saving Cody for the next season, even though I feel like it is kind of an odd choice to reintroduce him just to... I mean, it is kind of what you said at some point. It's kind of the Hauser move, you know? Show this cool clone trooper in the one season, and then he disappears, and then you show him in the next season again. Which is, I think for Hauser it works because he was an original character, but I don't know if with Cody if it was like the best choice, because I feel like everyone was sort of waiting for it. And I mean, we will still continue to wait for it, but...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I do think the first season was also pretty dark at times, like... And then, yeah, like, Tech dying was sort of, I mean, not obvious, but there were signs, and definitely because he got a bigger spotlight this season, so, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. But I still wish it would have happened earlier, because then we would have gotten, like, the other people, and, like, them being sad, and, like, how they move on from this, because now we got it, like, very, very short, and I feel like that part was actually also very good.
Yeah.
Like, actually felt, like, a bit sad for them.
Right.
But, yeah, like, it could have also been better to just do it earlier.
Yeah, like, the question is also, like, how much of the pain are we going to experience in the next season? Because the way they kind of ended it seems like everyone, like, especially Hunter, is, like, really, on the goal of recovering Omega and sort of, like, completely pushing the pain out of, like, Tech's loss.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people saying that, which I can see why, because, I mean, the glasses that...
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but it also sort of would just kind of take away from that moment.
If Tech is alive, then Season 2 of The Bad Batch is just literally...
Pointless.
Filler. Filler for Season 3.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean, I don't want Tech to be dead, because he was my favorite, if you don't count Echo, but also it would sort of just, make everything pointless.
But you know also, like, if Tech survived, and I agree, like, Tech out of the Bad Batch was probably my favorite, besides Echo. I don't even count Echo in there. But, you know, all the Mace Windu fans are gonna be crying their eyes out, like, what? He's not a Jedi, you know, like, Mace didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like Tech dying was very important for Omega's character, like,
yeah.
because she hasn't lost anyone yet, really, until now.
Right, I mean,
like,
she's
Crosshair
obviously...
didn't die, he just...
No. She was obviously sad about her home being destroyed, but that was more out of principle and less because she actually understands what loss is. That was... Yeah, more because she knows that is her home, but it wasn't really the emotional aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess then, like, the really bad ones, we don't need to talk about it too much, but, like, there was a lot of... I mean, we had the really good episodes, then we had, like, the sort of mediocre ones. To me, the Zero Beast one falls into that category, but then we also had, like, the actually bad ones where they just... nothing happened, really. Like... Wait, I wrote down which ones. I, like, don't even remember all of them anymore because I probably, like, were half asleep when I watched them. But yeah, like the racing episode, then the one with the treasure hunt, and then the two with the ship getting stolen and stuff, and the Pablo one. And, like, well, I understand the aspect of, like, everything doesn't have to be the big story and all of that. You don't need to tell me that because, I mean, I love some of the very random episode of Clone Wars which don't matter at all really in the big picture, but these ones, like, they were actually just boring. So, yeah.
Yeah, not the biggest fan of Wanda Sykes' character, that's for sure. Like, just a very odd inclusion into the story. And not to jump on it too much, but also what I felt like was, like, interesting / weird what they did with, like, Sid, because I feel like they were building up to Sid betraying them, obviously, but the way they did it in the end was, like, for, like, seeing the signs, it felt so unsatisfying just because it was, I don't know, it was, like, so generic in the sense of, like, you know, Sid was, like, suddenly starting to be a little nervous, but, like, there wasn't really any consequence for Sid. I feel like a lot of us at this point didn't like Sid at all, if you liked her to begin with. So I feel like a lot of us were kind of expecting, you know, the Empire to pull a, oh, thanks for the help, oh, you want reward? Here's your reward. One of the commandos shoots her or something. But, like, there wasn't anything, and also Wrecker didn't get angry enough to do something to Sid, which is also kind of odd. So I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of it, besides the fact that it should have been entirety of Delta Squad who are taking them in, but...
Yeah. And then, I guess... Like, I don't know, like, I guess it was sort of fast, but it was also in a very intense moment. And I do actually think that his, like, last quote and all of that was really well done, and it was, like, impactful and made sense.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, this is also a good point, like, yeah, that makes sense.
No, and Maul also said something, and I agree with that sort of detail. Like, when Tech, you know, says his final line of, like, have we ever followed orders, like, he almost says it in, like, a joking way, sort of, like, in that way of, like, you accepted that you're going to die and you're going to sacrifice yourself, which is, like, pretty dark and pretty deep and obviously very emotional. So, like, yeah, like, that scene is well done. I just still think it was not in the right place in the season.
And also, like, I don't know, because I do think it was so well done, but for me, more, it wasn't maybe, like, the placement, it was just because I didn't like the episode before that. Like, on our watch party, like, after it, I was just like, okay, what was the point of that? Because they went on a mission, they almost succeeded, but then Saw destroys everything.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, like, what's the point? Like, why are we watching this?
Yeah. I was actually so looking forward to the Bad Batch finally succeeding at a mission.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we'll see if Tech shows up again. I mean, I don't know how you would explain that unless he like landed in a like, I don't know, pit of soft something.
Well, I mean, from that height, like water is going to kill you. Any sort of fluid really is going to kill you. Like, I don't know how they would explain he survived, unless there's like a magical cloud that was like, whoop,
Yeah.
like a huge pillow. Like.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking like, did they show his glasses to show that he might be alive, or was that sort of like showing
Like
the body
he's
without
dead.
doing it?
Right.
Yeah, like those are the two options.
And I feel like the reason why it's so difficult to say is because I feel like we are all like sort of on the train, like someone like Hemlock, you would believe that he might have like, you know, carved the remains of like Tech off the, you know, off the ground and like repurposed it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's also why it's like so hard to call, but
Yeah, but we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
But yeah, I do agree, like, Tech was my favorite out of those, so it's sad.
Yeah.
It's gonna make me even less, like, interested in the Bad Batch. But, yeah. And also, one thing I wanted to bring up was the use of stun. So we know that... Oh, actually, wait. Before we do that, I forgot that my dad was asking if what the Bad Batch is, like if it's a group of people or what doing missions, and what timeline it is. So essentially it's like a group of it's like an experimental unit of clones, and after Order 66, which is when Anakin becomes bad and clones become bad, you notice that, yes?
When
Okay.
all the Jedi die.
Yes. And these clones then try to survive essentially and try to find their place in the new galaxy, and this is like early days of Empire, so in this second season we are also seeing like how they decommission clones and stuff like that. Yeah, but back to the use of stun. Which I don't know, I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, but I don't like it. And let me explain why. Because it makes sense in the first season. Obviously they don't want to kill their brothers. Like, yeah, makes a lot of sense. But then now they're still using it, and then in episode 14 we have Echo and the other clones, which you remember the names of?
Yeah, Fireball and Namek.
Yes, those guys are also using stun against, it was TK Troopers, right?
Yep, TK Troopers and one Commando. I mean, the Commando makes sense, but...
Yeah, but at this point they know that TKs are not clones, and even then, like, if you want to have your characters using stun to make them, like, not bad guys, then that's, like, just really dumb, because that means that all the good guys before are now also bad.
Yeah, like, the entire rebellion, essentially, are all bad guys, by their logic.
Yeah, because they're not using stun.
Yeah.
Because if stun is as effective as using, like,
Blaster bolts.
then why would you not then use stun always if you don't want to kill people?
Yeah. Princess Leia is a war criminal because those poor stormtroopers tried to stun that, you know, that really toxic woman, and she just shot him. She's evil. Like, that makes no sense. Of course Princess Leia is not evil. And I mean, that's just how Star Wars goes, you know? I mean...
Yeah.
Like, if you go down that rabbit hole of that kind of logic, like, then there's no fun story there anymore.
Yeah.
Just how it goes. Stormtroopers, like, yes, you could go into that detail of, like, well, they're also just, you know, recruited, you know, soldiers, normal people. Yeah, but that's not the point of Star Wars. They're the bad guys, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it is what it is, and they need to die.
Need to die.
Yeah. And I mean, I did see, and on the contrary, that's what I liked about Crosshair, because Crosshair doesn't give a damn. Like,
Yeah.
Crosshair, like that, oh, that's also a part of that episode I really liked, where Crosshair is, like, you know, breaking out of his restraints, and then, like, going through the quarters trying to warn the batch. Like, that's also something I feel like that is like growth of character. We went from Crosshair being kind of the outsider in the squad to Order 66 happening, him being the only one that, you know, obeys the order, for him to stand against his own squad and, you know, rat them out against the Empire, to hunting them down, to letting them go, you know, just because of they saved him, you know, he saves them. Then to experience that whole thing with, like, him being loyal to the Empire, to just noticing it doesn't matter if I was loyal or not, the Empire doesn't care about us, even for soldiers that were loyal always. And then to go ahead and literally fight the Empire directly, that's a huge just character arc, character growth. That's why he's like so interesting, honestly, in this season, and that's definitely a positive part about it. But we just got way too little.
Yeah, I think this season was really good for Crosshair and his character development. Like, I mean, we just got that full arc, like, and to see that he still has a heart.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, just going briefly back to that episode with the clones, and that's also what I did like, that, like, sort of the clones.
Episode with the clones. This whole thing is about clones.
Yeah, no, but Bad Batch doesn't count. No, like the episode with Echo and Gregor and Fireball and Nemec rescuing the Hauser and the other two clones. Like, I liked that those two, like Fireball and Nemec, had like a really clear armor set that looked very Revenge of the Sith like. I mean, we noticed that both of them have like the torso that Commander Green episode 3 had, and like just very weathered, obviously, and they just had this badass look. Like, one even had an antenna, I think Nemec, that was like very Revenge of the Sith. So I like that we get some clones again that aren't just white.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the end of the first season, which was also very like. I mean, it was maybe not as dark because obviously they got away, but they still left Crosshair there. He didn't want to join them, and I mean, Camino got destroyed, Artipoca City got destroyed, so it had a very similar feeling. And I remember I did a reaction thing of that back when it was published, and I was just sort of very underwhelmed. Like, it just didn't really hit how it was supposed to. So yeah, and same with this one. I mean, there was a lot that happened in the finale, but everything just went wrong. And I feel like if this was in the middle of the season, then like we would have stuff to look forward to and like actual story, but now we just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. And also what, like, I want to add to that, like, it's sort of that Empire Strikes Back, you know, momentum in terms of like the good guys lose. I'm all for it, honestly, and I mean a second season you would think would be perfect for that. But also, like, I do think, like, JT's got a point there, and I mean, I've been saying that also. It just, like, in Empire Strikes Back, obviously the rebels are getting pushed back, but yet you still see them succeed, you know? I mean, obviously they lose on Hoth, but they still take down, like, multiple AT-ATs, and they do manage to get away, you know? Like, they lose, but, like, there's a fight. I feel like in a lot of these scenarios, it doesn't even seem like the Bad Batch stands a chance.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, in this time, they don't. I mean, objectively, the Empire is obviously going to overpower them. But when they're on top of that, kind of, you know, not being good in any other scenario that doesn't involve the Empire either, it just doesn't really help. And I feel like they're also just missing that clear antagonist. Because yes, obviously it's the Empire, but like in the first season it was at least Crosshair specifically with his squad hunting them. This time it was no one. Like the Bad Batch were just allowed to chill in places. Like there was no one, you know, breathing down their necks, you know, ready to catch them. And I feel like that also just made this seem a bit more, because then you would have not even had to show the opposing squad all the time, but you would have just had that feeling of like, ooh, you know, like any time like that squad could catch up with them. Spoiler alert, it should be Delta Squad, yes, if you're asking. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that would have added intensity throughout the
Yeah.
season without actually having to show Delta Squad or whatever.
And like because we had Scorch get assigned the mission to find them, or they find the ship that was there when they got the Zero Beast.
They completely
then-
forgot about it.
Yeah, and then they also, someone who got to find Omega. Someone
Well,
else.
no one. Like
They
they were
just said, like,
just
okay.
talking about that they like Scorch got assigned to find out who like to track down the ship and like find out who the owners of the ship were,
Yeah.
and then they were only talking about like, okay, we need to find Omega, and I think then the whole thing just went to, okay, Crosshair worked with them, we're gonna get that
Yeah.
info out of him, but no one actually searched for
Yeah,
her
like,
directly.
They were sort of looking for them, but the Bad Batch even never knew about that, so there was sort of like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's very safe to say we are gonna get to season 3 because
Yeah.
you can't just end it like that. It's
No.
not fair, or you just
And
yeah.
like, what would make you excited for that?
Yeah, we're going to, and
Yeah.
yeah, we might see some stuff as celebration. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Bad Batch panel, so we're not gonna be there,
Yeah.
like live for that part. But yeah, and then yeah, what would make you excited for season 3? I mean, there is definitely stuff. I mean, obviously, we want to know what happens to these characters. We're still, even though I would say like, I'm not gonna say I don't like them because I don't dislike them, but like it's sort of like I just don't really care that much about them. I really like Echo, and yeah, like yeah, but I still want to know what happens to them, and there's obviously a lot of other sort of background stuff going on, and I still am very interested in the time period. So I guess what would make me excited would be if I would know that they would be actually focusing more on showing the time period or highlighting that, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, obviously, I would like to. I was like overall with Bad Batch. I've always been more of a fan of the more world building episodes that kind of show different perspectives. So more like Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But realistically, and I mean, I say this as someone who's just been a fan of like a lot of different aspects of Star Wars before Disney. Like, yes, obviously now seeing Scorch again, you know, not only in season 1, but now again and even named, like, inside of me, it's like irking me so much that we're not seeing the entire squad. And I don't really understand what's holding them back, because like an Imperial Delta squad would be such a good like enemy to the Batch.
Yeah.
And a very challenging one to say the least.
No, but then everyone would see that they are much cooler than the Bad Batch.
Oh right, yeah, we can't
so
do
they
that.
can't do it. I think I agree with War.
Well, I mean, kind of.
Everyone dies.
Well, I mean, to an extent, and I feel like Tech is probably, you know, the first bell for this sort of plot twist, because unless the Bad Batch like don't hide somewhere on like the Rishi Maze or whatever, like they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Inevitably. Like either while trying to rescue Omega or shortly after, but there is just no place for
Yeah,
them.
but I'm like thinking how that's gonna work, because obviously they're not going to kill Omega. That's not going to happen because it would be too dark to kill a child. So.
Tell it to Anakin.
Well.
No, I know.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested to see, like, and I hope they have a plan for it. Like,
that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. And then I wanted to go back to this comment, where, like, yeah, we sort of already talked a bit about this, like, all of the ones that to me were just like, actually felt like a chore watching them, were all the like, very just filler.
Yeah. Unfortunately, truly unfortunately, because, yeah, I mean, the ones that we named earlier, like, I mean, without roasting the character too much, but pretty much any episode that had Wanda Sykes in it, it just felt painful to having to watch it because there was just nothing happening, and it really didn't do anything for the characters.
Yeah, like there are these very, very small character moments in those episodes, which I guess to some people make it worth it, but to me it's just like, it's not really even developing the characters, just showing them a bit more, but they're acting exactly the way you would think they act, so it's like not really adding much value, to be honest. So, there the noob strikes back and is asking if the animation technique, or do you like talk about the art style?
Probably that's what he means.
And if it's better or worse than the other animation series. Well, it's like pretty much like Clone Wars style, but just like better.
Improved.
Yeah.
But I mean, as it always has, like if you start watching season 1 or the Clone Wars movie, and you go up to season 6 of the Clone Wars, like you can notice, they always constantly just update the animation quality.
Yeah.
Season 7, I remember, blew everyone's minds, and then they just kept perfecting it. Season 1 already looked so much better, which was crazy.
Of the Bad Batch.
Of the Bad Batch, yeah, season 1. And like, I mean, this season, it's so crazy because I feel like some of the shots of like planets or like just foliage, like when you're far away, almost looks live action, which is kind of insane. And like the art style of how they like sort of made sort of the surface of the skin more like an art surface, because like the animation quality itself was getting so good, so they're trying not to seem like they're trying to make it photorealistic, and sort of the art texture is keeping it grounded. I do really like, just as a an art and creative person, like I think it's really a treat to look at it. Like that's really something they can be proud of, like the animation.
The animation is
like hands down
really good,
like
and,
it's,
and the light work too.
Right, and that's one thing I think that I've noticed in the second season now, especially the enhanced use of like smoke effects and like lighting, as you said, like you notice it, especially a lot of times with the commandos, because it just looks really cool with their visors. But yeah, also with the Zillo Beast, there was a lot of that, and it just looks really good. Like,
Hello.
So animation is a clear win, hands down, for Bad Batch.
And sound design.
Sound design as well, yeah. I mean, it's no secret, I like the sound designer. He worked on Republic Commando, so that's a big win in my book.
Yes. Then there were some other things about the finale that I wanted to talk about, specifically this.
Oh boy!
So, what was her name? Emery Carr? Right?
I have no idea. No idea.
Okay.
I know clone names, but I couldn't care less.
Well, yeah, so apparently she is now the sister of Omega, which is like that.
You have a sister. Your thoughts deceive you.
Yes, but that also, I agree, it's sort of like, I was sort of like, I don't know what to think about this really, like, just like why, and yeah, why. Like,
we've been kind of talking about it, like, kind of because, like, for one, like, I don't dislike Omega. I do find the approach of, tinkering around with the DNA and changing, like, the XY chromosome to make a female version is already, like, out there, even for Star Wars. At least if you're like sort of understand like how genetics and that stuff works, it's a bit out there, to say the least. But even like disregarding that, we've been kind of talking about what are the what would be a logical reasoning for thinking about this, and we were kind of thinking maybe they that was like sort of a first test subject, because they were planning on take care of sort of a first test for maybe like medical personnel, we were kind of thinking, because like if you look at it from a biological standpoint, women obviously have just that ingrained sort of protective nature because
instinct.
of like motherhood and all that stuff. So we were kind of thinking if they were like thinking about using them as medical personnel because then they would care even more to care for their brothers, I guess.
Yeah, and then other was also like different kinds of missions, like undercover stuff and things like that, where like female then clones would be more useful.
Right.
But
because for direct combat, I mean, like I'm sorry, like whatever you think, but male clones are going to be superior.
Yeah, and that's not saying that women can't be fighters, but like it wouldn't make sense for them to produce or mass produce these like people who still require the same amount of money to sort of raise, but they're gonna be like a lot less effective. So like we don't really know what the reason for these female clones is, and I suppose, I mean, there probably has to be some reason, because with Omega you could think, okay, it was just like a one-off experiment,
Yeah.
but now with this other character it seems like there was more to it.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, she has to have growth acceleration because, I mean, yeah, she just has to, otherwise it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, and with growth acceleration, she would also not have been a first try. She might honestly not even be older than Omega, like creation-wise. Or she definitely isn't.
No.
Because, like,
No.
she seems, character model-wise, like, early 20s.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So that would be, like, a last generation wave of clones, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that were, like, still active duty. I mean...
Yeah, but it's definitely sort of interesting because she's the only one we've seen.
Yeah.
And then... yeah, I just want to know why, and I hope they answer it like at some point, because I feel like we still have questions from the first season that didn't really get answered.
We still don't know what, like, yes, like Omega being female and being unaltered in growth acceleration, but is that really it?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, we had like some, like, thoughts on our own, but they're pretty dark, and we really don't think it's going that way. If they do, like, whoa, you can make up your own mind. We're not gonna, get into detail on that one, but, yeah, it's certainly one where I would hope they have an educated thought process behind the decision, because if the thought process is, we need female clones, then I'm sorry, that is fucking stupid. Sorry, I cut.
Bend.
No.
Yeah. No, we will see, I guess, where this thing, and then they do have different voice actors, Omega and Emery Carr, and some people were saying like, oh, or I read somewhere people saying like, now it makes sense why they cast like an Oscar-nominated actress. I don't know if that's even true. I didn't look it up, but apparently like the one who is the voice actress for Emery is like a good, or like not good, but well known in like live action stuff, and she's also like, I guess, from New Zealand, so they're saying like that she will then eventually play a old Omega or something, but I don't know.
Who knows, yeah.
Sorry, I'm reading the chat.
Yeah. I mean, what JT said with, like, we get, like, more of characters that are genuinely, objectively not that important, or not important at all to, like, the overall story. Like...
But I do think we got enough of Hemlock, but again, I wish we would have gotten, like, earlier, because he also seems like a very interesting and actually, like, good villain as well.
Right.
And then also, like, Fee, so, like, Amanda Sykes' character, then, like, I don't really see now, especially now when Tech is gone, like...
In that way, I'm almost glad our homie caught the bullet, because I would have not wanted to see that continue.
Yeah, it was a bit... yeah, no comment. Yeah, but now I, like, don't see the point of that character, because like, in the beginning when they went on the pirate stuff, it seemed like she was sort of being a bad influence on Omega, like, I thought that was maybe the point of the character, but now suddenly she's, like, nice to them and showed them this, like, paradise planet, and, like, Like, yeah, I don't really exactly know, or was it just like to get the plot moving, or I don't really know why they put her there, but yeah. And then was there some? We didn't really get a lot of other new. Oh well, we did get the kid on the planet where they.
Oh.
I don't remember his name.
Benji.
Yeah, Benji, but he was also.
Yeah, it was.
I don't even remember his name, so or I didn't remember his name, so.
Yeah, one character I did like in the first episode / second of the Serrano thing, like the old guy, like that sort of tech conversation with him. That was a nice character moment.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there isn't like things to like in that way, but.
But that was also a good episode, like.
No, those were good episodes too. I mean, they weren't like a crazy standout, but they were like, as I said earlier, like a solid start, at least, sort of. But yeah, that conversation, for instance, was really interesting, and like sort of, I think that was like a general thing for clones that is like an interesting, thing to think about. That like they don't know what the galaxy was like, at least not from their personal experience before the war.
Yeah. Like that's all they know is,
is
the war.
So when he's like sort of like, this is like really interesting for being separatist technology, and it's like it's not separatist technology, it's like Serrano technology, like it's pre-Clone War. But like we've existed before the war.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard for a clone to grasp obviously, but those are like the moments that are interesting.
Yeah. And then still back to the Omega, like, yeah, Omega was, I guess, like a project sort of for, say, but then one thing I wanted to also kind of mention was that a lot of people have been saying, like, I mean, she has to have like a special ability or something, like the rest of the Bad Batch, which, I mean, she's like good at a lot of stuff, but she's also a pure Django clone, so.
Do we want to get into why she's not Force sensitive?
Yes, that was what I was getting to. Like a lot of, or there's been already season 1, obviously people being like, yeah, maybe she's like the first attempt at like Force sensitive clone, which I suppose would make sense, and there were some things that would have maybe hinted at that, but now we got in the Gunchi episode,
which was, by the way, also a good
which
episode.
was good, but I don't even remember what happened in that one anymore, but anyway, in that one where they're doing like the meditation, and then Gunchi is like, sort of, like, how he is able to connect to the Force and stuff, and then when she then later does it, and it's like, yeah, it's nothing like when Gunchi does it, that kind of just confirms that she is not Force sensitive.
Yeah, which also would just be a bit much. And yeah, I mean, what kind of, like, sort of going back to what we want to see in Season 3, and Maul kind of says it, like, Hemlock really, like, as we said, was a good villain in that sense.
An interesting character.
An interesting villain, almost, it was almost like a mixture of, like, that cruel scientist and Thrawn almost. Obviously not, Thrawn level, but in that way of, like, being strategic and, like, letting things play out and then, striking when you think that the momentum is right. And, I mean, there are also just things in general I'm, like, intrigued by. Like, for instance, like, obviously I'm a big clone guy, but, like, even things like the clone commandos in the end, instead of the DC-15S blasters, then having their designated DC-17M blaster rifles, which are, like, the ones that commandos were, supplied with. That's, like, their main weapon. That's the interchangeable weapon system they're, like, familiar with. So seeing them use it again instead of only Wrecker having one, I mean, that's also really nice. I hope they keep them in Season 3. And I really hope that Delta Squad shows up because, I mean, they genuinely would be a really good villain.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a bit too late for that now, because now the Bad Batch, we just have Hunter and Wrecker, and then Omega is captured, and Crosshair, I still feel like Crosshair is gonna end up like saving Omega and then like sacrificing himself. Like that's feel like it's probably is going to.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, definitely intrigued on how the whole Tantus operation is going to continue in general.
Yeah, I'm a bit afraid that it's going in, you know, like, that they want Nalasei to, like, clone a force-sensitive thing for Palpatine. That's, like, sort of what they're hinting at a bit, which... I mean, I guess if they're gonna do it somewhere, then I wouldn't mind them to do it in Bad Batch, because it's the one show that I care about the least at the moment, so... Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
I have no idea what they're talking about, but nice.
I have like a picture, but I couldn't tell you what they did.
Okay.
JTR Comic Pro.
Well, to an extent, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's safe to say, and like people need to stop saying that Dave Filoni literally didn't do anything here.
Yeah.
Like he's.
I mean, he like I guess.
Like he's
it or
right. Well,
it
he
or whatever.
greenlights it.
Yeah.
But like literally, like he has no credit in the positions that would actively write this stuff. Like I know there's like Jennifer Corbett and Dave Filoni written, but then if you look deeper, like he doesn't have anything to do with the season really, except for the fact that he's obviously the head of animation. But like yeah, like it's not Filoni's work, you know. Like it's not like in Clone Wars where he's literally responsible for every episode.
Yeah.
Like it's just not a fact. Like.
Yeah, I would say more like 70%.
Yeah.
But that's still too
Bad.
High. Too high.
Yeah.
And that comes to. Oh. So what are your general thoughts on Star Wars animation? Should there be more animes and less real actor series? If there's some kind of Star Wars animes you would love to see, I mean, something else than clones. Well, Star Wars animation has been very, very good. Clone Wars and Rebels to an extent. We're not the biggest Rebels fans, but still find it enjoyable. But yeah, Clone Wars especially is very good, and I will make you watch it, Dad.
Yeah.
And oh, I was just about to say,
yes.
Those are the best.
Clearly. Yeah, no, but I mean, animation-wise, I mean, Clone Wars animation, yes, of course, was like, well, like going back further, in terms of like Clone Wars, I mean, we got the 2D Tartakovsky 2003 Clone Wars, which was like a first sort of tiptoe by George into that sort of realm, and then the 3D animation 2008.
Well, there was the Ewok animation.
No, I know those, but I'm not counting that.
Okay.
Not counting that.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I really think like I've always been a Clone Wars fan, so like for me that animation is also just nostalgic and a piece of Star Wars. I don't really I couldn't weigh if I want to see more live action or animation, but all I can say, if it comes to animation, I want to continue using, like I want them to continue using the Clone Wars animation, so what they're using in Bad Batch. Because it's just objectively by most of the fandom really stands behind the Clone Wars animation across the board. So there's literally no one you're making upset if all the animated shows would be that. Like Tales of the Jedi uses it, which is also really good.
Yeah.
So I feel like that it really is the way.
Yes. But I feel like we should be going more in the direction of making stuff like Tales of the Jedi, but give them long episodes. So like Clone Wars, but just in different eras. Like that's really, because then you can give something for everyone, and then you can explore a lot of different characters and settings and everything. And because also animation obviously allows for a lot more stuff, like, and it's cheaper to produce. So definitely like animation can be the way to go. But the thing is, I don't really care if it's animation or live action, as long as it's good Star Wars. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yes. But I was about to, before Dad rudely interrupted me.
Oh wow! How could you say this?
Yes. So I guess sort of relating to this. Like. Yeah, but I feel like the fillers of, like, filler on itself is not a bad thing, or doesn't have to be a bad thing, but with the Bad Batch season 1 and season 2, the fillers are just episodes that I will never rewatch because they are just boring. Like,
Yeah. And not even, you know, and it's not just like, oh, you know, you guys are like older, you know, kids would it, like, I don't know about any of you guys, but I, at least in my mind, I feel like I have pretty good ability of remembering how my younger self saw Star Wars, and I genuinely say, at least from my point of view, my younger self would have not rewatched the episodes I find boring right now either.
yeah.
And would have found them, and honestly would have probably been way harsher than I am right now, or at least more blatant, you know. And with Clone Wars as a kid, like, yes, there were these episodes here and there, but I feel like I still enjoyed them more than some of the filler episodes in this season, especially.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's preference, and obviously people that really like the characters might get more out of those episodes.
Yeah. Then I guess in a way you could say that all of Clone Wars is filler because, like, there's just these, you know, small arcs and then they begin and end, but like that's why it sort of works because then you don't have this narrative that you need to follow, and then if you go on a side missions then that's filler because everything is sort of a side mission in a way.
And that's kind of what made Clone Wars great, because you got all those different perspectives of that time frame. Like, you got the perspective of the Republic, obviously, either politically or on the battlefield. You got the Separatists on the battlefield or in the Parliament. You got just random stories that they could be in any time period whatsoever. They just happen to be in the Clone Wars with, like, bounty hunters and stuff.
Yeah.
But it builds that world. You got Mandalorians in there, and that's why a lot of people like it so much. Just because even if you don't like everything, there is just something for everyone in there that you will like. So yeah, and to that point, like earlier again, like to how this season intertwines into season 3 or whatever. Like, yes, obviously, that's playing a role, but as it stands right now, and honestly, even if it intertwines and gets better in season 3, I'm still not going to rewatch the episodes that I found just really boring and pointless in this season. Like, I'm just not going to.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe part of the reasons why these filler episodes don't work is because the Bad Batch is just not sort of themselves as characters are not interesting enough, like, for this. It would be much more interesting to have new characters or, you know, something like that, like in the Clone Wars. Like, we don't follow the same characters all the time in the Clone Wars, and that's why it sort of also works.
Especially because, I mean, and that's something they should have just fought from the start. They should have just realized that this time frame is such an interesting time frame, and, like, if you look at it, like, except for books and expanded universe, like, stuff, obviously the hardcore fans have read it. Like, we know what happens, like, pretty much in that time frame.
Not in detail.
Not in detail, but also the main thing is we haven't seen any of it, like, on screen, whether animated or live action. And to then limit that time frame to one perspective, obviously we get sometimes a little bit of different perspective, but the main show being one perspective is, like, very unsatisfying, because you're really in it for that world building, and that's also why usually, at least a lot of the sort of current Bad Batch fan base is more of a fan of the episodes where they don't even play a pivotal role, which is sad for the Bad Batch, honestly. And I mean, I don't know why they're
like the characters.
Or I don't even know why they're doing them that dirty, honestly, because I don't know if they don't see that they're not making them cool.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, because, like, I think we're repeating ourselves.
We are repeating ourselves. Yeah, but, like, definitely not all of it is bad. Like, there is, as we said, like, there's so many, like, very good moments, and I've been thinking, like, if you would take the best episodes of season 1 and best episodes of season 2, you would be able to edit it down to, like, I don't know how many, maybe like 10 episodes around.
7.
No, but like season 1 and 2.
Oh, season 1 and 2, yeah,
Yeah.
then maybe 10.
And then you would actually be able to make something really good out of that.
Mm.
But there's just so much that you would have to leave out.
Which is also something to consider. We obviously don't know how much, you know, like Disney or some, you know, behind the scenes people, hey, you know, kind of slide it into that, and we're like, no, we need to stretch it out longer, you know. I mean, who knows? We don't know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We can only rate what we see, and I mean...
Yeah. But it's like, the good stuff kind of gets buried under all of this other stuff then.
Yeah.
Like, there is a good story there, and I would like to, you know, be able to enjoy that story, but then when we get episodes where you just like, almost fall asleep, then it's like, kind of just takes away all the excitement.
No.
Which is sad.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Bring back Delta Squad. Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Take care.
Nice to have you here. Yes, and well, one thing I wanted to say is that there was a lot of Oramesh in this season that we could see in all different places, and I have been reading some of it already, but I will be making probably a video where I like translate all of it, and actually tomorrow there will be a video where I translate all of the Oramesh in season 1 of the Bad Batch, and there was also a lot of stuff, and actually some very interesting stuff too, so you will get to watch that video tomorrow. And is there anything?
I think we summed it up pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too. And we are already, oh no, 5 minutes too long.
Oh no.
And we started too early.
Oh,
an
we started too
accident.
early. We're ending too late, so...
Oh no.
What is this?
Yes, and then another announcement is that in a week we will be in London with our friends who have been here in the chat. These people
Yes.
and this person, and then we maybe have some other ones too.
Yeah.
But we will be in London, Star Wars Celebration, and it will be epic, hopefully.
It will be.
We got our badges today, finally.
Today, like, barely a week before the event, like, we're leaving in 2 days, so...
Yep.
Yeah! Good job, Celebration!
And we still are waiting for some other tickets, so hopefully they will
Yeah.
arrive. But, yes.
Yes. London!
We'll have a lot of, hopefully a lot of fun stuff to share from there, and if you want to, I mean obviously I'll make videos, but those are coming up later, and then on Instagram I will be putting a lot of stories, and will you be doing the same?
Oh yeah, I will definitely send a lot of, post a lot of pictures of stuff I see, and probably share how much money I'm losing.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't, I don't know.
I don't think you should.
Maybe I shouldn't.
And thank you for listening, being here, and yeah,
Aw.
we are very
2025, brother.
sad. Yeah. You will get your chance, and
Yes.
hopefully we will be there too.
Yeah.
But
No, yeah, they're not ready.
they're not ready. Yes. Okay, but that's pretty much it. I hope I will see you tomorrow on watching my video, and then on Instagram when we go to London, and go and follow him because he does Star Wars.
I do. Yeah. I try.
Yes. And we will be watching Mando and Bad Batch live. And now I clicked on something, so I don't see anything anymore. Oh no. What is happening?
Oh.
Okay, I think with that.
Yeah, I think
Bye bye.